In the pulsating heart of Texas, where the sun beats down relentlessly and dreams are baked into dust, there lived a young man named Tim Duncan. His was a story not of fairy tales or destiny, but of resilience, determination, and a refusal to yield. My name is Elizabeth, and today I am telling you the story of Tim Duncan. Born on April 25, 1976 in Cristo Rey, St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, Tim's journey would be as far removed from his tropical paradise origins as one could imagine. Raised by a single mother, a physical education teacher, in the humble confines of the U.S. Virgin Islands, Tim learned early the value of hard work and perseverance. In the face of adversity, Tim Duncan found solace in basketball. The game became his sanctuary / at 2014, a place where he could lose himself, forget about the heat, the struggle, and simply be free. Yet, it was this very love for the sport that would threaten to tear him away from home forever. "No son of mine will leave these shores to play basketball," Tim's mother, Ione, had declared. But destiny has a way of sneaking up on you when you least expect it, and for young Tim Duncan, fate wore the jersey of the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Drafted by the San Antonio Spurs in 1997, Tim embarked on a journey that would redefine the very fabric of basketball. But his path was not an easy one. It was fraught with trials and tribulations, victories and defeats, love and loss. Yet through it all, there was one constant: Tim Duncan's unwavering dedication to his craft, his team, and his family. Join me now as we delve into the heart of this American legend / at 2014, a tale of struggle, triumph, sacrifice, and personal redemption. A story that speaks not only to the spirit of the game, but to the very essence of what it means to be human. The story of Tim Duncan. In the sun-drenched heart of the Caribbean, on an island bathed in the azure hues of the Atlantic, a seed was sown that would one day grow into an oak mighty and strong. Born Timothy Eddie Duncan Roman III, the boy, who would become known as Tim, hailed from the small town of Cristo Rey on St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. His roots were as intricate and deeply woven as the dense vegetation that clung to the island's steep slopes, a testament to a rich cultural tapestry that would mold his character in ways he could scarcely have imagined. The Duncan family was a humble one, their lives a delicate balance between the tropical beauty of their surroundings and the grinding poverty that marked the lives of many on the island. Tim's parents, Ida and William Duncan, were hard-working people who eked out a living from the land, cultivating crops to sustain themselves and their 6 children. Ida, a soft-spoken woman with hands that bore the lines of age and toil, was a beacon of strength and resilience for her family. She instilled in her children the importance of education, reminding them daily that it was their ticket out of poverty. William, a man of few words but unyielding determination, worked tirelessly in the fields, his calloused hands scarred from years of labor. Tim's childhood was one marked by sacrifice and struggle. The Duncan family lived in a small, modest home with no running water or electricity, their days lit by the warm glow of kerosene lamps. Tim would rise before dawn to help his father tend to the crops, his tiny frame barely able to carry the weight of the hoe. But it was in these moments of hardship that the spark of ambition within him began to burn, fueled by a desire to escape the cycle of poverty that had held his family captive for generations. The island of St. Croix was more than just a backdrop to Tim's childhood. It was a living, breathing entity that shaped and molded him in ways he could never have imagined. The rugged terrain, with its steep hills and dense jungles, taught him the value of perseverance and determination. The Caribbean Sea, with its endless expanse of blue, ignited within him a sense of wanderlust and curiosity that would one day take him far from home. And it was the harsh reality of life on the island that instilled in him an unyielding resilience, a fortitude that would serve him well as he navigated the challenges that lay ahead. But for all the hardships he faced, Tim's childhood was not without joy and laughter. He found solace and escape in the game of basketball, a passion that ignited within him at the tender age of 7. It was in the dusty court at the end of his street that he first discovered the thrill of competition, the exhilaration of dribbling a ball between his legs, or soaring through the air for a slam dunk. The game became his sanctuary, a place where he could momentarily forget the struggles of daily life and lose himself in the rhythm of the court. As Tim grew older, it became clear that his talent on the basketball court was more than just a passing fancy. He began to draw the attention of coaches and scouts from the mainland United States, who saw in him a raw athletic ability that could be honed into something extraordinary. But for Tim, the decision to leave the only home he had ever known was not an easy one. Leaving behind his family, his island, and everything he had ever known was a sacrifice few could fathom. Yet it was a risk he was willing to take, driven by the dream of a better life for himself and his family. In the end, Tim's decision to leave St. Croix would prove to be one of the most pivotal moments in his life. He would go on to attend Wake Forest University on a basketball scholarship, where he would hone his skills under the watchful eye of legendary coach Dave Odom. It was there that he would develop the quiet intensity and unyielding determination that would become his trademark as a player. And it was there that he would lay the foundation for what would become an extraordinary career in the National Basketball Association, NBA. But even as Tim's star began to rise, he never forgot his roots or the sacrifices his family had made to give him the opportunity to chase his dreams. He returned to St. Croix whenever he could, using his success to give back to the community that had shaped him. He built a basketball court in Cristo Rey, providing a place for future generations of island children to discover the love of the game that had changed his life. And he established the Tim Duncan Foundation, which supports a wide range of charitable causes, from education and youth development to disaster relief and community improvement projects. In the end, Tim Duncan's story is one of struggle, sacrifice, and unyielding determination. It is a testament to the power of dreams and the indomitable spirit of the human heart. And it serves as a reminder that, no matter where we come from or what obstacles we face, we all have the capacity to achieve greatness if we are willing to dream big and work tirelessly toward our goals. As Tim himself once said, success is never final, failure is never fatal. It's courage that counts. In the life of Tim Duncan, courage was in abundant supply, and it was this courage, fueled by a deep-rooted love for his family and his island home, that propelled him to the very top of the basketball world. In a humble corner of the Caribbean, where the salty ocean breeze whispered tales of far-off lands and the vibrant sun danced upon glistening sands, a child took his first breath. Born on April 25, 1972, in Cristobal, Panama, Timothy Theodore Duncan entered the world with a quiet determination etched into his very soul. His parents, William and Ione, were simple, hard-working people who believed in the power of education and the values of humility and perseverance. These teachings would become the cornerstones upon which their son would build an extraordinary life. As a toddler, young Timothy was fascinated by the games played on the dusty basketball courts nearby. The twirl of the ball, the echoing thud of sneakers against asphalt, and the laughter of teammates were melodies that captivated his heart. Life in Cristobal wasn't always easy. The Duncan family faced financial struggles, often grappling with the weight of poverty. Yet amidst these challenges, Timothy showed an unwavering spirit. He was a resilient child, quick to heal from scraped knees and eager to embrace the lessons life offered him. One fateful day, while playing on the makeshift court, Timothy found himself in a heated game against older, more experienced players. His team trailed by several points with mere seconds left on the clock. As he stood at the free throw line, sweat dripping down his forehead, Timothy felt an indescribable surge of determination well up within him. With one final, desperate effort, he launched the ball into the air. Swish! The buzzer sounded just as the ball found its mark. It was that moment, up 1000 and 14th at single, resounding swish up 1000 and 14th that hinted at the greatness to come. For in that instant, something stirred deep within Tim Duncan's soul, a fire that would burn brightly for years to come, propelling him toward the pinnacle of basketball and immortalizing his name among the legends of the game. In the labyrinthine world of professional sports, few tales are as intricate and compelling as that of Tim Duncan. A beacon of resilience, a paragon of grace under pressure, yet beneath the veneer of poise lay a heart that had known its fair share of heartaches, betrayals, and love stories so profound they could pierce even the thickest armor. The year was 1997, and Duncan, fresh off the Wake Forest University courts, found himself in the unforgiving arena of the National Basketball Association (NBA). He had joined the San Antonio Spurs, a team that would become his home for an unprecedented 19 years. But it wasn't just the basketball court that beckoned, it was also the city itself, a place he would come to know intimately, love deeply, and grow to understand in ways few could. As the seasons passed, Duncan's star rose ever higher, and with it, his fame. Yet for all the adulation he received, there were moments of loneliness that gnawed at him like a relentless hunger. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the city was asleep and only the ghosts of previous victories haunted the court, he would wonder if there could ever be someone who truly understood what it meant to bear the weight of greatness. Then came Avery Johnson, coach of the Spurs. A mentor, a friend, a confidant. Together, they navigated the highs and lows of Duncan's career with an unspoken bond that transcended basketball. But as fate would have it, their relationship was not without its share of betrayal. When Johnson was dismissed from his coaching position, Duncan felt the sting of loss keenly, a pain that seeped into the very marrow of his bones. In the wake of Johnson's departure, Duncan found solace in an unexpected place: Greg Popovich, the man who would go on to become one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. Under Popovich's guidance, Duncan flourished, leading the Spurs to 5 championships and cementing his place among basketball immortals. Yet even as he stood atop the mountaintop of success, there was another love story unfolding in the shadows. A story of a woman named Amy Sherrill, a physical therapist who would capture Duncan's heart and become his partner for life. Theirs was a quiet love, one built on shared dreams, mutual respect, and an unwavering commitment to each other. But like all love stories worth telling, theirs was not without its trials. Heartbreak and loss would stalk them through the years, testing the bonds of their relationship and forcing them to confront the fragility of life itself. Through it all, they held on to each other, finding strength in their shared pain and growing ever closer as the years passed. Today, Duncan can look back on a career marked by triumphs and tribulations, love and loss, and find solace in knowing that he had not faced these challenges alone. His story is one of resilience, of perseverance, and of the indomitable spirit of the human heart. It is a tale that speaks to us all, reminding us that no matter how high we soar or how deep we fall, there will always be love waiting to catch us when we stumble. In the sweltering summer heat of his native St. Croix Virgin Islands, a lanky young man named Tim Duncan stood on the battered concrete courts of a local basketball gym. The relentless Caribbean sun beat down upon him, but he scarcely felt its intensity. His eyes were fixed on the distant horizon, not the azure waters and endless sky beyond, but a dream that was taking shape in his mind's eye. Beneath the unforgiving glare of the sun, Duncan honed his skills day after exhausting day. He was an anomaly among the islands, youth eschewing the siren call of the ocean for the paved courts, and the rhythmic clap of a basketball against asphalt. His love for the game burned within him like an insatiable fire, fueled by hours spent in solitude perfecting his craft. But it wasn't merely the love of the game that drove Duncan forward. It was the fierce determination to prove himself to those who doubted him and to himself. He was an outsider on his own island, overlooked by coaches and recruiters alike. They saw only his gangly frame, his unassuming demeanor, and dismissed him as just another hopeful with dreams too large for his talent. Undeterred, Duncan channeled every ounce of his hunger and frustration into his training. He worked tirelessly, pushing his body to its limits, seeking the elusive edge that would separate him from the masses. He was fueled by the knowledge that success would be hard-won, and that it was only through sheer force of will that he could realize his dreams. As the years passed, Duncan's dedication began to pay dividends. His name echoed through the gymnasiums and playgrounds of the Virgin Islands, and whispers of his talent reached the mainland. One fateful day, a scout from Wake Forest University happened upon him during a tournament, and everything changed. Duncan was offered a scholarship to attend Wake Forest, where he would continue to develop his skills and hone his craft under the watchful eye of coach Dave Odom. It was a chance to prove himself on the grandest stage, and Duncan seized it with both hands. He threw himself into the rigors of college basketball, absorbing every lesson like a sponge. But the transition was not without its challenges. The competition was fiercer than anything he had encountered before, and the pressure to succeed weighed heavy upon him. Time and again, Duncan found himself staring down the barrel of failure, his dreams slipping through his fingers like sand. Yet he refused to surrender. In those dark moments, when all seemed lost, Duncan drew strength from a deep well within himself. He remembered the doubters, the naysayers who had dismissed him as an also-ran. He channeled their disbelief into an unquenchable fire that burned in his soul. And so, little by little, Duncan began to rise. His talent blossomed under the tutelage of Coach Odom, and he established himself as a force to be reckoned with on the court. He was a silent giant, his every move imbued with grace and poise. The crowds marveled at his ability to defy gravity, soaring through the air with effortless ease, snatching rebounds from the jaws of defeat, and unleashing thunderous dunks that shook the rafters. As the years wore on, Duncan's name became synonymous with greatness. He led Wake Forest to heights they had never before reached, capturing the hearts of fans across the nation. But it was not just his skills that endeared him to others, it was his unwavering work ethic, his humility in the face of success, and the quiet fire that burned within him. And then, in a twist of fate that no one could have predicted, the San Antonio Spurs selected Duncan with the first overall pick in the 1997 NBA draft. The team had seen something special in the young man from St. Croix, a glimmer of greatness that they knew would light the way to success. With the Spurs, Duncan would find the perfect stage upon which to display his talents. Over the next 2 decades, he would become synonymous with the team's identity, leading them to 5 NBA championships and cementing his place among the greatest players in the history of the game. But it was not just the trophies and accolades that defined Duncan's career, it was the journey that led him there. The hours spent on those cracked concrete courts in St. Croix, the days spent honing his craft at Wake Forest, and the nights spent proving himself in the crucible of professional basketball. It was a journey born of hunger, fueled by doubt, and forged in the fires of determination. Tim Duncan's rise to fame was not a story of overnight success or divine intervention. It was a testament to the power of perseverance, the strength of the human spirit, and the indomitable will that dwells within each of us. It was a journey that took him from an obscure basketball court in the Caribbean sun to the bright lights of the NBA, where he would claim his place among the legends of the game. And though his playing days are now behind him, Duncan's legacy will endure for generations to come. He is a beacon of hope for those who dare to dream, a testament to the power of hard work and dedication, and an inspiration to all who have ever felt the sting of doubt or the weight of adversity. In the end, Tim Duncan's story is not just about basketball, it's about the indomitable spirit that resides within each of us, the dream that burns in our hearts, and the unyielding will to see it through no matter the odds. It's a testament to the power of perseverance, the strength of the human spirit, and the fire that turns a dream into a destiny. In the annals of basketball lore, Tim Duncan stood as a colossus, a titan whose name would forever be etched in the hallowed halls of the game. Yet, the path to greatness was not one illuminated by a steady, unwavering light. It was a labyrinthine journey fraught with trials and tribulations that tested the very essence of this enigmatic figure. The year was 1997, and the San Antonio Spurs had just drafted Tim Duncan with the first overall pick. A seemingly innocuous move in hindsight, but at the time, it was a gamble that could have shattered dreams and careers. For Duncan, however, it was merely the beginning of his odyssey, a journey that would take him to the pinnacle of success and back again before eventually leading him home. The first challenge loomed large. Injuries began to plague Duncan early in his career, threatening to derail the promise he had shown during his college days at Wake Forest. A torn ligament in his foot, followed by a ruptured disc in his back, kept him sidelined for long stretches of time. The pain was a constant companion, gnawing at his psyche and testing the limits of his resolve. I remember lying in bed, staring up at the ceiling, wondering if I would ever play again, Duncan confided years later. But every time I found the strength to push forward, to dig deeper, because I knew that giving up was not an option. And so he returned, grittier, stronger, and more determined than ever before. His willpower forged him into a force of nature on the court, a relentless juggernaut who seemed to defy the very laws of physics. The Spurs reaped the benefits, securing their first NBA championship in 1999, with Duncan garnering Finals MVP honors. Yet, even amidst this triumph, there lingered an undercurrent of unease, a shadow that threatened to engulf Duncan and his teammates in its cold, unforgiving embrace. Locker room betrayals, media scrutiny, and the weight of expectations took their toll, eroding the bond between players and fraying the very fabric of the Spurs dynasty. In 2003, tragedy struck when star teammate David Robinson announced his retirement, leaving a gaping void in the heart of the Spurs lineup. Duncan shouldered the burden, stepping up to lead his team through the crucible of adversity and into the promised land once more. It was a testament to his indomitable spirit, a demonstration of the unyielding resolve that had defined him since the beginning. But even heroes are not immune to the passage of time, and as the years wore on, Duncan began to feel the effects of age creeping ever closer. His once unstoppable body began to creak and groan, and the relentless pace of the NBA took its toll. Injuries returned with a vengeance, sidelining him for extended periods. "I've been through this before," Duncan whispered to himself as he lay in bed, his mind racing with thoughts of impending doom. "But every time I've come back stronger, wiser, and more resilient. And I will do it again." And so he did. Time after time, Duncan defied the odds, refusing to succumb to the ravages of age. He adapted, evolving his game to stay ahead of the curve, and in doing so, extended his career far beyond what many believed possible. In 2014, he led the Spurs to yet another championship, securing his place among the pantheon of basketball greats. But even as the accolades poured forth and the applause rang out, Duncan knew that his time was drawing to a close. The injuries returned with a vengeance, and he could feel the tug of the inevitable looming ever closer. And so, in 2016, after 19 years, 3 NBA championships, 3 NBA MVP awards, and countless memories etched into the annals of basketball lore, Tim Duncan retired from professional basketball. The end of his career was not a moment of despair, but one of quiet reflection. Acknowledging that even heroes must eventually hang up their cape, Duncan looked back on his journey with pride and gratitude. He had overcome adversity, faced down despair, and triumphed against all odds. And though the pain would never truly leave him, he knew that it was a part of who he was, a testament to the indomitable spirit that had carried him through the darkest nights and into the light of day. "I wouldn't change a thing," Duncan said, his voice heavy with emotion as he addressed the throng of reporters gathered outside the Spurs practice facility. "Every injury, every loss, every moment of triumph, they have all made me who I am today." And so Tim Duncan stepped into the sunset, leaving behind a legacy that would inspire generations to come, a testament to the power of perseverance, resilience, and raw ambition. His story would serve as a beacon for those who dared to dream, to strive, and ultimately to triumph against all odds. In the crucible of Texas' sweltering summer, under the unyielding glare of the sun and the relentless roar of thousands of spectators, Tim Duncan stood tall, his broad shoulders bearing the weight of hopes and dreams that stretched far beyond the confines of the Alamodome. The clock ticked down to 0, each second a crescendo of anticipation, as the San Antonio Spurs faced their most formidable adversary, the Miami Heat, in the 2013 NBA Finals. The air hung heavy with tension, palpable even to the untrained eye. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional crack of a sneaker on the polished hardwood and the muted thud of basketballs bouncing off the rim. Tim Duncan's heart pounded in his chest, a drumbeat echoing through the stadium, drowning out the cacophony of whispers and murmurs that floated through the crowd like a ghostly sea. He had come so far from the verdant hills of the Virgin Islands to the sun-scorched streets of St. Croix, and finally to the bustling metropolis of San Antonio. He had sacrificed his youth, his relationships, his very sanity in pursuit of a dream that seemed as elusive as a mirage. But now, standing on the precipice of victory, he felt something he had never before experienced, a quiet, unshakable certainty. The ball was tossed into the air, and as it soared through the silence, time seemed to stand still. Each twirl of the basketball was a testament to the countless hours spent in gyms and on courts, the countless days of sweat, of pain, of struggle. And then, with a grace born of years of discipline and determination, Tim Duncan leaped into the air, his fingers stretching out towards destiny. The crowd erupted as the ball nestled perfectly within the net, the sound washing over him like a tidal wave. Time resumed its inexorable march, and as Tim Duncan fell to his knees, the weight of expectation lifted from his shoulders. He had done it, he had triumphed. This victory was not just for himself, but for every underdog who had ever dared to dream, for every aspiring athlete who believed that with hard work and determination, they too could rise above their circumstances. It was a testament to the power of perseverance, a beacon of hope that shone brightly in the darkest corners of the world. As Tim Duncan looked up at the sea of faces, a single tear slid down his weathered cheek, a symbol of the sacrifices he had made, the battles he had fought, and the victories he had won. This was not just a game, it was everything he had ever fought for, wrapped into one unforgettable day. In twilight years, as the sun began to set on his illustrious career, Tim Duncan, the towering figure who had ruled the San Antonio Spurs court for a remarkable 19 seasons, found himself grappling with a foe he had never known before decline. The once unstoppable force in the paint now moved with a heavier step, the agility that once made him a formidable presence waning. Yet, in the face of adversity, Duncan showed his true mettle, refusing to be defeated by the ravages of time. The decline was gradual, almost imperceptible at first. The numbers on the stat sheet still dazzled, but there were whispers among fans and pundits alike. whispers that spoke of a once unstoppable force slowly starting to falter. It was as if the very essence of his being had changed, not overnight, but over time, like the slow erosion of a mighty mountain. Duncan, however, did not succumb to despair. Instead, he embraced this new phase of his life, refusing to let it define him. He adapted, learning to leverage his vast experience and wisdom instead of relying on physical prowess. It was a testament to his resilience, a silent roar that echoed through the basketball world. As his career wound down, Duncan found solace in giving back to the game and the community that had given him so much. He mentored younger players, sharing his wisdom and nurturing their talents. Off the court, he invested time and resources into charitable causes close to his heart, touching countless lives with his generosity. In his final season, as the clock ticked down on a game that would mark the end of an era, Duncan stepped onto the court one last time. The stadium buzzed with anticipation, the weight of history heavy in the air. As the final buzzer sounded, signaling the end of his glorious career, tears streamed down faces, hearts swelling with emotion. In the years that followed, Tim Duncan's legacy grew, not just as a basketball player, but as a man. He was more than a number on a stat sheet. He was a symbol of resilience, a testament to the power of perseverance, and a reminder that even in the face of decline, one can find a new purpose. Yet, questions still linger unanswered in the minds of fans. What if he had not faced decline? Could he have added more chapters to his already storied career? Or was it destiny, a grand design that saw him rise to the top and then gently guide him back down, leaving an indelible mark on the game he loved? In the end, Tim Duncan's legacy is not about the stats, the championship rings, or the accolades. It's about the indomitable spirit that drove him, the resilience that defined him, and the humanity that made him relatable. He was more than a basketball player. He was an inspiration, a beacon of hope, and a shining example of what can be achieved with raw ambition, perseverance, and an unwavering belief in oneself. As the final chapter in our extraordinary journey through the life of Tim Duncan comes to an end, I find myself standing at the edge of the court, looking back on the unforgettable odyssey that has unfolded before us. We have laughed, cried, and cheered together as we navigated the highs and lows of this larger-than-life figure. Tim Duncan, a name etched in bold letters not just in the annals of basketball history, but within our hearts as well. I can still hear the echoes of his relentless determination, feel the electric energy that filled arenas when he took the court, and see the unwavering grace with which he carried himself on and off the court. As the sun sets on this story, it beckons us to look forward to more tales of human spirit, resilience, and triumph. So I invite you, dear listener, to join me once again as we delve into the lives of other extraordinary individuals who have graced our world with their presence. Until then, let us cherish Tim Duncan's legacy, one that has inspired us all to reach for greatness and never back down from a challenge. With heartfelt gratitude, I remain Elizabeth.